Howdy guys, welcome to night 3 of what we call it, Cliff Notes from Outside the House. Night 3 of Big Brother All-Stars. Man, I thought this was going to be super short. The nominations have occurred, vetoes haven't happened yet, so I thought this would be a little more quiet night, people going to bed early, getting ready for the veto competition. Not so much. There's a little bit of talking, nothing horribly huge, but just a lot of people developing the relationship. So we'll talk about that over with these overnight feeds this evening. Got my cup of tea in honor of my bestie Nicole Anthony, and let's see what's happening. Now, first of all, for those of you who may not be aware, most of y'all probably know, but nomination ceremony was today. Keisha and Kevin are on the block. I don't think it was a surprise to anyone except maybe Kevin. He seemed a little bit surprised. Keisha expected it to happen, and as soon as it happened, Cody talked to Kevin. Kevin came upstairs in the have-not room. They talked just real briefly. Cody said, nothing personal. Nothing, it's so quick in the process. I just had to pick someone. I still want to work with you. I still want to develop a relationship. Kevin said he got it, and he wants to work with Cody as well. You know, they said what they feel like they need to say. Keisha came up, and I think the conversation was about the same conversation, but it took several hours. Keisha was up talking to Cody in the HOH room for quite a long time, and Cody just, I think, said the same thing over and over again. It's not personal. I want to work with you. This is just one of those things. And the veto ceremony's tomorrow. You can work yourself off. So, or the veto competition. So, tried to smooth over with both of those. There's a lot of people getting a little bit paranoid. I think the oxygen levels have gone ahead and dropped in the house now. They've been in there for a while. They don't have access to the outside. It's people getting a little crazy, a little more. Fearing the conspiring going on, as my old house guest Kat would phrase it. First of all, Danny and Nicole Anthony. I'm trying to make sure I specify Nicole Anthony, Nicole Frenzel, but Danny and Nicole Anthony were upstairs talking. Danny apologized for ghosting Nicole Anthony with regards to the podcast. Danny's been talking about that a lot to a lot of people, and we'll talk about that more in a second. She also said that Nicole should be very proud to be in the house, that not everyone in there is there because they're a great strategic player. Some people are there because they're well-loved or because they did things in the game, and so Nicole should never feel like she doesn't deserve to be there. It kind of rubbed me a little bit the wrong way. Nicole's a great player. Nicole came in third place, and Nicole's got the strategic understandings as well, but it is what it is. That little conversation happened. Cody and Nicole Frenzel were talking. And Nicole told Cody that they were talking about Enzo and working with him. Nicole says that Enzo doesn't trust her because she is a former winner, and that she thinks Enzo kind of holds that against her and may not be as loyal to her as I think Cody thinks would be loyal to him. At the same time, or a little bit later, Enzo was having a long discussion with Nicole Anthony. Nicole Anthony spent a lot of time up in that upstairs little loft area talking to a lot of people today. That was kind of her base. I don't think she's feeling that well. She's complaining a lot about the slop, and it just has this huge mass in her stomach, and she's just not feeling well today. So she stayed up there, but she and Enzo were talking, had a long discussion. Enzo was talking about how strong he thinks the women are in this particular season. And he's kind of prodding Nicole about the possibility of a woman's alliance if there's something going on. Nicole kind of laughed it off. She said, look, I hope there isn't a woman's alliance, because if there is, I'm not part of it, and that's not a good thing. So she tried to shoot that down and let Enzo know that no, she's not aware of any of that. Nicole Frenzel and Danny were in the key room. They're worried about Janelle. They don't think they trust her. Danny says she doesn't trust Janelle, but Nicole F. says that Janelle said that she trusted Danny. Does she really or not? I don't know. Danny's a little bit of a wild card. I feel like she's aligned with Cody and Tyler and kind of the new school folks, but certainly Danny and Frenzel are worried about Janelle. Also, Danny says that she talked to Nicole Anthony, trying to get to know her better and just to smooth out some things. She told Frenzel that Nicole didn't really talk game, that she hasn't talked game with anyone, which really isn't true, but says she hadn't talked game with anyone. It's what Nicole has said she told her. Danny did mention or say that she feels like Nicole Anthony is dealing with a lot of emotional baggage from from our season. And that as a result, that she feels like she's just trying to get that out of her system right now and maybe isn't necessarily playing a lot of game just yet. I think underestimating Nicole Anthony could be good, could be bad. I think they better be careful doing that. Janelle and Danny both ended up saying that they haven't talked yet. Janelle came into the room about the time that Nicole and Janelle were saying, you need to go talk, Danny, to Janelle. Janelle came in. They both said, hey, we just haven't had a chance to talk. So they sat down and talked for quite a while. Janelle was explaining to Danny why she played in the safety challenge, that after talking to Cody, she just didn't feel safe. She felt sketchy about it. She also told Danny that she thinks Nicole Anthony might be working with Cody and David. David, they had a little conversation. They're going to watch out for each other, but working with Cody and all, not really. She also said that Nicole Franzel could be working with Cody. And Janelle also asked if Cody and Tyler are together. So a lot of people prodding and asking questions about relationships and such. Danny playing a little dumb, saying she doesn't know anything about Cody and Tyler. That's a new one on her. Danny and Janelle talking in the key room. Both of them are saying that no one's talking game. Danny's saying, no one's been talking game to me. Janelle's saying, no one's talking game to me. It's so strange. It's never been like this before. Okay. All right. I'm not sure if either one's buying it from the other, but maybe. But they're playing like they haven't had any game discussions so far, and everything's hunky-dory. Danny mentioned to Janelle again about ghosting Nicole Anthony and how it worries her. And I've got to say, it dawned on me watching this, and I'll throw a few personal opinions in here or there. I really think that Nicole Anthony needs to be careful. If Danny gets HOH, Danny is going to target Nicole Anthony, and the excuse she's going to use is that she is afraid that Nicole will come after her because of this whole ghosting incident, which I don't really think probably bothers Nicole the way Danny's portraying it. But I think Danny would use that as the excuse to put Nicole up if she had the chance. So Nicole Anthony better be careful and hope that Danny doesn't get HOH anytime soon. Hog's personal opinion. Danny also mentioned to Janelle she was surprised to see both Nicoles in the house. And I don't know if she meant because both of them have the same name or that she didn't think either one necessarily was going to get in the house. Not sure what the meaning was, but she said she was extremely surprised. In another section, Memphis explaining to Keisha why Keisha's all worried. She thinks she's a primary target. Memphis is trying to explain to her that, no, I don't think so. It makes more sense to get out Kevin. Memphis's explanation is that getting Kevin out won't make as many waves, that if they get out Keisha, then Memphis is going to be upset. Memphis will be coming after people. Kevin is more of a lone wolf that won't upset as many people, and that's why he thinks that the house may end up settling on getting Kevin out instead. We'll see. That's an interesting thought. But he said they also need to avoid people thinking that she's part of an old school alliance. They need to avoid people thinking that she's part of an old school alliance. So trying to lay low with each other. Memphis also thinks that he could be a replacement nomination if someone pulls himself off the veto. Could be. Now, here's an interesting thought. Memphis, and there'll be some talking about this in a little bit, why did Keisha and Kevin go up instead of Keisha and Memphis, since they're such a tight duo, and made a little bit more sense. And Cody talked about that later. But for right now, Memphis thinks that he didn't go up because he says that Cody says he never saw season 10. So he may not realize that Keisha and Memphis are as tight a duo as they are. And so he may not have worried as much about it. The valid point, it could be. Nicole Anthony and Enzo talking again. Nicole's getting a little worried. She's not feeling great. She's seeing all the whispering. She's seeing people huddling in different rooms and such. She told Enzo she knows that gaming is going on, and she also knows that she's not part of it. And so she's getting a little nervous, a little worried about gameplay and what actually is going on. Another conversation between Davon and Cody. Now, here you go. And I think this happened in what we called outside the RV. I guess it's a comic room now. Cody ended up proposing a four-person alliance with Davon. Cody, Enzo, Davon, and Bailey. Group of four. Bring in some additional people, but those are the core four group. And Davon, of course, said, "Yeah, that sounds fantastic. Let's make it work." So they kind of did a fist bump on it, and yet another alliance, another connection between some people. Davon's playing a good game. She's agreeing to a lot of people. She's talking to a lot of people. I don't know which ones are serious, which one is just her gathering information. She's talking to a lot of people. So, but there was a four-person alliance involved with that. I think to some degree it seems like Davon and Bailey have been considered tight with each other, but still perhaps wild cards. No one really sure which direction they're going, and so everyone's trying to grab them. What else going on? Davon and Cody, I mentioned. Danny and Cody talking. And this is interesting. Danny told Cody, she said, "Cody, everyone thinks that you and Nicole Franzel are together. So if you think you're hiding it, you aren't. Everyone already thinks, everyone knows that y'all are together." And also, all the women, according to Danny, all the women think that a bro alliance, a dude alliance, is already formed between the muscular, the alpha male type people. And so she said, "You better be careful because that's what the women are suspecting." Cody told Danny and Enzo that he's going to work on David. He's trying to bring David into the fold as well. As soon as they get the backyard open, Cody was planning to grab David, play a lot of pool, play a lot of cornhole with him, make them feel like best friends, and do everything he can to bring David into their alliance with whoever is in that group. And again, a lot of names being floated around, but the dude alliance because it's also Danny and such. So the new school group, I guess we should call it. Another thing that's going on is Ian and Nicole Franzel were sitting up in the HOH room together. Cody left to go do something. They started talking and they formed basically the Millionaire team. Is it a final two? Maybe, but it's a very weak final two. I think Ian may think of it more as a final two than Franzel does, but they're the only two winners in the house. They were both expecting to see more. Now that there's not, they're afraid that both of them are going to be targeted, especially if one goes out the door, that the other one may become a bigger target. Ian said that as soon as he saw Keisha's picture up there, he couldn't see the whole picture because he was facing the wrong way. He just saw the blonde hair, thought it was Franzel, and thought that Cody was using the reason of, hey, these two people won. I had to pick someone for eviction, and he was afraid he's going on the block. So they've agreed to watch out for each other. Nicole said, hey, let's really play it up, saying, hey, you ought to keep us because if you ever take us to final two, no one's going to vote for us to win another $500,000. Y'all would win over either one of us guaranteed. Ian was pretty smart. He said, yeah, but that can be self-serving after a while or self-fulfilling. If we keep saying that, then eventually people are going to believe it if we do make it to a final two with someone else, and we may not win the competition. So be real careful doing that. But they formed the Millionaire Club. Kind of did a fist bump on that. What else is going on? Let's see. It's 13 minutes. Here's what I'm going to do. Gosh, I talk so much. We're limited to 15-minute chunks on the Instagram video. I'm going to shut it down right now. But I am posting part 2, so don't think this is the end of it. I've probably got another 5-10 minutes worth of talking to wrap up the rest of the evening. And there's some good stuff, so don't think I'm just giving you the rest of the stuff, which doesn't matter. There were some very good conversations here at the end. So I'm going to shut it down right now, but look for part 2. It's going to be posted at the same time as part 1, and we will wrap up this evening. And, it's getting exciting. I thought it was going to be a little dead this evening without the veto competition until tomorrow. But that's not the case. All right, see y'all in part 2, guys. Cheers. Bye. Howdy, guys. Welcome to part 2 of night 3 of Cliff Notes from Outside the House. If you haven't caught part 1 yet, go listen to it. I talked for about 13 minutes. I gave probably the first 3 or 4 hours of the evening, and now we're going to wrap it up and talk about some pretty juicy stuff that occurred when lots of things happen once people go to bed, and the people that are still up feel a little more free to talk. So that's what I wanted to cover. But if you haven't seen part 1, go find part 1, listen to it, and then come right back and we'll finish it up for you. All right. Interesting little conversation. Davon and Nicole, Anthony, and Kevin sitting upstairs in the little loft area again talking. And Cody, according to Davon said that Cody told her that he did not put up Memphis alongside Keisha because it would look like an attack on past duos. If he put up a duo together, it would look like because they were partners in the same season, that was the reasoning for it, which then could potentially be used to come after him and Nicole Franzel, because obviously they're duos as well. So because of that, supposedly, he chose not to put up the duo and went with Kevin instead. Maybe, a possibility, but that was certainly what was said. At that point, then Nicole Anthony mentioned that she caught Memphis and Cody whispering, and there's not a chance that Memphis is a replacement. I think she said one of them, she was coming out of the bathroom and they didn't realize she was in there. A little sketchy. I'm not sure exactly what was going on, but she came out, saw them very much huddled and whispering, and then suddenly trying to change the conversation when they saw her. And so she is, because of that and maybe other things, she is convinced that Memphis has something going on with Cody, and that Memphis is never going to be a target anyway. That if there's a replacement nominee, now she's worried that it very well could be herself instead. So that caught a lot of people's attention. Davon had quite the reaction, just one of those. She was not expecting. Again, Davon's great. She's taking this all in and she's listening, and Nicole's telling a lot of things. But so they're thinking that there could be some conspiracies going on between Memphis and Cody, which leads to another conclusion that maybe there's a much larger alliance going on that anyone's aware of. And so this is where they're getting a little paranoid, a little suspicious that there's just a lot of goings on that I don't think are really occurring, but it's hard. You're working with limited information in the house. So Nicole Anthony better be a little careful, because she's jumping to some conclusions that may not be completely accurate. There's concern from everyone in that little group talking that Tyler and Janelle are spending a lot of time together. Again, you've got Memphis and Cody. Now suddenly you've got Tyler and Janelle that are potentially not as at odds as it seems. But here's the thing. If they truly were working that closely together, you probably wouldn't have seen Janelle and Kazar playing in the giving up their VIP pass to play in the safety competition yesterday. Obviously, they felt threatened since they did that. But whatever. You see people coming out of a room, you immediately get your gears a spinning, wondering what's going on. And that's what's happened here. So they're worried about that. Davon also gets Nicole Anthony a little bit worried, because she mentions that a lot of people have been asking about what's going on with Nicole, where's her head at, and what's her gameplay, what are they thinking, and just a lot of people asking questions, which I think unsettles Nicole a little bit. Kevin throws out that he thinks that there is a group of Janelle, Memphis, Tyler, Kazar, and Cody. And again, if they really all were linked in together, I don't think you would have seen the safety competition playing out the way it did. But Kevin throws it out. Everyone else is buying into it as well and getting worried that this isn't just an alliance of new school, but it could be like season 7 All-Stars, where you tended to have the two big targets in the house, instead of going after each other, ended up calling a truce, coming in together and picking off some of the middle people instead. And I think there's a concern that something similar is going on here. I don't think that's the case. I don't, but I have the benefit of watching the live feeds. They don't. What else? Kazar and Keisha. They're sitting down in the key room. Kazar is worried that this is all a backdoor attempt on Memphis, that maybe Memphis was the target all along. As soon as someone uses a veto, Memphis is heading out the door. Kazar is picturing Memphis as part of this alliance. He doesn't want to see that. Kazar is playing the game hard, and he's getting worried. He wants to save everyone in his group, and he's at risk of overplaying a little bit, in my own personal opinion. Memphis had told, I'm not sure if he told Janelle this or exactly how word got to Kazar, but Kazar heard that Memphis thinks it may be best to throw the veto, accept that there may be a little collateral damage, hope that Kevin goes home, that they keep Keisha in there, and not to raise a lot of red flags by fighting too hard for that veto. Kazar doesn't like that. He wants to go wake Memphis up. He wants to get him downstairs, have a conversation with him, convince him not to throw the veto, that he's got to fight for it. Janelle says, hey, if you do that, you're going to get a target on our back. Kazar says, we've already got a target on our back, or else if we didn't play aggressively with that safety comp, we'd be on the block right now. The target's already on us. It's not going to hurt. We've got to play full speed on this thing. He can't be throwing the comp. Janelle is saying they need to go under the radar. She's kind of suggesting maybe they don't fight so far for the veto as well and not make it look like they're that excited or interested in protecting Keisha or Memphis or anyone else. Kazar doesn't really like that, but Janelle is saying things, talking about low profiles. She's trying to calm him down. I gotta say, it reminds me a little bit of my season. Mickey could get a little worked up a little bit, and Holly would pull the reins back. She used those very terms. She's the one that pulled the reins back sometimes and slowed Mickey down. I feel like there may be a little different, a little similar relationship. Janelle is trying to slow Kazar down a little bit. Kazar's heart, I love Kazar. He's a great guy. I love watching him play, but he is playing pretty hard right now and maybe putting all his cards on the table if he fights too hard for this veto. And Janelle's trying to slow that down. All right, now here's an interesting tidbit. This caught my attention. Up in the HOH room, a lot of people are up there. I think Davon and Cody and Ian and maybe Nicole Franzel. Danny's up there. So a lot of people just talking. Well, Danny mentions that she thought she was told the game was going to end on October 21st. And I haven't counted up the weeks, but a little bit shorter season than regular. She was told it was going to end on October 21st, and then at some point they were told that, no, we're going to extend it one more week. So around October 28th, it sounds like when this game is supposed to end. Right after she said that, they cut to the star, the feeds cut. So I don't know. Who knows why they cut, but she did make the mention that October 28th, so maybe you just pencil down your calendar, finale night within a day or so of the 28th, may be a best guess based on what I heard. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Couple of final things. Cody and Ian talking. Oh, Ian has been up. Everyone else has finally gone to bed. Cody and Ian are still up there, and Cody is doing everything he can to bring in Ian to their side. That they've talked quite a bit. Ian is saying all the right things. He's saying that he respects Cody, that he knows that Cody is a strong player, that he wants to work with Cody. Cody's saying, oh, I trust you. I saw the way you played. You're fantastic. I want to work with you. I feel like we're straight shooters. We can trust each other and work and help each other. And I don't know if Ian's saying all the right things, but I don't know if Ian is truly agreeing and wanting to work with Cody, or he's just saying it because he knows that helps him with the game itself. Now, Ian did kind of take it a step further by actually telling Cody that at the veto competition tomorrow, if he is picked to compete in the veto competition, he told Cody, I am making a promise to you that if I am picked, I either won't win the veto competition, or if I do win, I will not make changes. I respect you too much as an HOH to do that. So I'm telling you right now, in honor of our agreement here, I won't change the veto if I win. So that seems like Ian maybe is pushing it just a little bit more than just saying the right thing. So Cody may have done a good job of getting Ian on that side, which is a shame, because at the same time, Kazar and Janelle are talking. Here we go. Yeah, Kazar. Oh, I missed a little bit. We'll cover that next. So anyway, I mentioned Kazar and Keisha. Kazar worried there's this backdoor attempt on Memphis. Kazar also, this is interesting. Kazar told Janelle that Bailey told him that there's an all-girl alliance. Janelle immediately kind of laughed that off. She acted a little shocked, but she also laughed it off. And she said, who's in this alliance? And Kazar never really said. And she said, oh, just everyone? And he never really said. And I didn't see that part of the live feeds, but my understanding is that maybe Bailey didn't say there's an all-girls alliance. She said some people had talked about trying to form one, or wondering if there was one out there. She wasn't as definite as it got conveyed to Kazar, but he mentioned that, so he's getting a little bit worried. Kazar is wanting another alliance that would consist of himself and Janelle, Keisha, Memphis, Ian, Nicole Anthony, Bailey, and Davon. So 8 people. That's who Kazar thinks that he's going to be able to bring into their alliance. Well, good if he can do it. But again, as I just talked about with Cody upstairs in the HOH room, I don't know that they have Ian necessarily. I don't know exactly where Bailey and Davon's head's at. I tend to think Bailey may be a little more towards this new school group with them, and Davon kind of, I don't want to use the term floater, because floater, I mean, let's use a proper term. Davon's just listening and making some decisions. Too early for people to be floating. She's trying to figure out where she wants to land. But I'm not sure that he necessarily has the people that he thinks he has at this point in time. But that's who he wants, is his 8-person alliance. So there's a couple of people that are getting pulled both directions. And it's amazing. This is happening before the veto competition occurs. I think once it occurs, based on the results, then you're really going to start see some politicking and such going on. But that's what's going on with that. And then finally, most people in bed, but Nicole's still feeling horrible. She goes down, wants to drink some milk to help things move along with all the slop sitting in the tummy. But she drinks almond milk. I don't know if that gets the gears turning quite as much as good old cow's milk. But she's downstairs. Kevin ends up there, and eventually Davon ends up. So the three of them sitting in the bathroom talking a little bit more at the very end of the evening. A lot of the talk in that conversation is about Kevin and what's he going to do if he gets house guest choice. Who is he going to pick? And Nicole basically says, look, if you need to do whatever you can to protect your game, if that means picking us, pick us. And if we win, we'll take you off and we'll do what we need to. And Davon's kind of saying, yeah, we'll watch out for you. But I don't think she's quite as willing to just say, do whatever you want for your game. But there's a lot of talk about that. And, should Kevin pick one of them? And Nicole only played in a couple of veto competitions last year. She's ready to play if she gets picked. But they spent a lot of time saying, look, if Kevin does pick you, don't act excited. Don't act like it's a big deal. Just say, yeah, okay, I'll play. And downplay it as much as you can. They're trying to keep it on the down low that the three of them have any kind of communication or comfort level with each other. But there was talk about that. It's appearing to me like right now Kevin is very much, I don't know, I was going to say a lone wolf. He's got his supporters. Nicole is a big supporter. But Memphis may have a point that he is someone that maybe could get sent out the door without creating as much animosity, as much direct targeting type shots across the bow as some other people. So that may not be good for Kevin. Nicole Anthony is extremely worried that if someone does pull himself off the block, she could be the replacement nominee. It could be her. It could be Memphis. We'll see. It's very interesting. And then you got a few people I haven't even talked about this whole conversation. David, I mentioned a little bit that Cody and them are trying to bring him in. Everyone's still talking about how much they like David, what a great guy he is, and so he's working it, but they're working potentially him a little bit as well, making sure they bring him in. Christmas has been talking to a lot of people, but she's been somewhat non-committal. I would throw her in with the new school people if it came down to it. But another interesting thing, Bailey and Davon and Christmas are all sleeping in the bedroom, the comic bedroom. There's a part of me that kind of thinks that whichever way Davon and Bailey go, they may be able to pull Christmas in if they're sitting there talking every night before they go to bed, things like that. It's only natural that they may have some connections there as well. So again, a lot more conversation than I expected this evening. Once people went to bed, they finally went to bed about 3 o'clock or so their time. I'm going to shut it down. Cheers, guys. Have a great one. I'm going to try to come back. We'll talk this weekend some more about what's going on. It'll be really interesting to see what happens with the veto competition. But y'all have a great evening. Have a great Saturday. Talk to y'all later. Cheers, guys. Bye.